Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. It's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and this is the Wednesday video where I answer your questions. I think last week people felt a little, sorry for me, so maybe not many people asked questions. A lot of people commented, but not many questions. So we only have 3 questions to go through, but they're all great questions, and I'm going to show a lot of stuff. I'm balancing it out by showing lots of really great books. So the first question is from William Barrett, who asked, what is a remark, and do you have some examples to show? So a remark is basically when an artist adds like a little doodle. I don't know how it's better to explain it, but a little doodle to a cover. Usually it's by request that they do that. I have 2 examples of remarks. I actually had more, but I couldn't find them. I was like searching through my collection, couldn't find. I had like a whole bunch that I got from the Comic-Con where when I visited, I had been, did interviews with certain artists and they did little remarks for me. But I have 2 others that I can show at least. The first one is this one. This is Tarot. And you can see right here is the remark where the artist David Nakayama did a little extra Scarlet Witch. This is a really cool actually book to have it on because it's a infinity cover with that extra remark, and it's even a yellow label. So the thing says signed and sketched by David Nakayama. So it's an infinity cover. It's a pretty cool book with a nice little remark. You can really see the remark there. So, and he did a good job. Sometimes, like some of the artists, when they do the remarks, they just draw some random weird thing. But sometimes they do a really nice job. That was a good one. Here's another one that I got way back when. I got this pretty much when it came out. This is Bone number 4, I believe. Yeah, Bone number 4. And it's signed by Jeff Smith, who is the creator of Bone. And it has a remark. I'm not sure. Let's see if I can make it show. Right there. It's a little Bone character. So yeah, so that's very simple little remark, but still pretty cool. Zoom in on it again so you can see it. And those are some of the remarks that I have. Generally, some artists will actually charge extra for a remark where, you get it signed, it's maybe $10, get it remarked, and it's an extra $25. And then sometimes, it goes up from there where it's different than a sketch. Sometimes you can get like the blank variant covers where they can do a full-on sketch. A remark is usually a smaller thing. I just wanted to make that clarification. Okay, so that's the first question. I hope you enjoyed the few remarks that I have in my collection. The next question comes from Kilo Ban Hideout. Korriban Hideout. Okay, so I messed his name up. Sorry. Perhaps a non-relevant question, but do you ever collect omnibus or volumes of particular stories that you like to read? No, really don't, actually, to tell you the truth. I know a lot of people really get into omnibuses. The guy that I actually think of, whenever I think of omnibuses, I always think of Gem Mint. He always has, all of his comics are omnibuses. I'm not a big fan of omnibuses. They're big, heavy books. I get the concept that you get to have all your stories into one book, but it didn't really appeal to me. I generally prefer to read my comics online. So I know that's very sacrilegious because everyone likes to have that tangible thing, but I actually prefer to read comics online. So yeah, I can zoom in. I like all that kind of a capability. I think with my eyesight kind of fading, having that online version where you can zoom in makes it easier for me. So I never really got into omnibuses, though I did pick up, I do have a few trade paperbacks, which is, similar idea. But the only reason I even picked those up is generally they have sometimes they'll have a special cover, and I'll give you an example of that. So this is Stray Dogs trade paperback, which collects the full stories of Stray Dogs. You can see it's quite thick. But it has this special cover, which is an homage to Crime Suspense Stories 22. I just thought it was really cute. A little doggy and the girl at the bottom. I thought it was a really great homage. I love homage covers, so I thought this one was a really good one. And I collect, like, specifically homage covers to Crime Suspense Stories 22, which I have a whole bunch. You wouldn't believe how many homage covers I have to this one cover. But yeah, so it's one of those ones where I generally don't collect it unless it has a really cool cover. Omnibuses, though, I'm not a big fan of. I know they actually can go for quite a bit of money. I've seen people pay hundreds of dollars for omnibuses. I don't really get it personally, but yeah, but I do understand it. I do understand that people will like that tangible thing, and reading the whole series at once. I can see there's some appeal to that. Okay, last question, and this is where I'm going to show a whole bunch of books. Comes from Adrift, and he wrote the following. I'm familiar with the acclaimed Argentinian sci-fi. I'm familiar with the acclaimed Argentinian sci-fi comic strip, The Eternaut, from mid-1950s. Are you familiar with any other foreign language superhero or sci-fi comics from the Golden Age or Silver Age that people can check out? Foreign editions, like comics really originated in the US, and because of that, during the Golden Age, there really wasn't that much outside of the US, and I'll get into that in a second. But what happened is you got the comics really being popular in the US, and then you have sort of dribs and drabs elsewhere. Like, what I think of is in the UK, they actually had their own comic strips, like Beano, and I can't think of a whole bunch of them. And in France, they had Spirou and stuff like that. But sci-fi specifically, that is actually a bit hard. I can't really think of any good sci-fi ones outside of the US. Now, I know that they did reprints, like Canadian edition reprints of some of the EC comics, where, you know, they would have Canadian versions of it, and also with Planet Comics. So Planet Comics, they I think it's like 1 through 4 they have as a Canadian edition, but those were actually later issues of Planet Comics. But I was thinking in general of foreign books, in general, like there's like Guri, which is one from Brazil, which is interesting. It's not sci-fi, but it is superhero, and that's actually kind of a cool thing. For Silver Age, there's a lot more. So Silver Age, once it gets into silver, you get a lot more. Like it, you know, comics sort of boomed outside of the US at that point. So you get things like Creepy Worlds from the UK, which is Alan Class. Alan Class produced a whole bunch of comics and a lot of sci-fi books at that point. So you get like a huge amount being produced outside of the UK, but they were mainly reprints of Marvel comics. So that's the caveat to that. A lot of the stuff that came out were reprints of American stuff. I'm going to show you foreign edition of comics. These are comics that are not sci-fi, sorry, but they are books that were produced outside of the US, in Canada. So these are all Canadian books. And hopefully maybe there might be a sci-fi in here. I don't think so. but I'll show you some Canadian edition books. Sorry, I wish I had better sci-fi ones, but I really don't. I just don't. But we got some Canadian books. These are, this is Maple Leaf Comics, or Superior, I should say. Superior, with the Maple Leaf, I meant. And it's, you know, these are books that were produced in Canada and actually exported to the US as well. So that's Love and Marriage. And then they did a bunch of different titles. They did also My Secret Marriage. It's kind of a funny one. And we got some more Secret Marriage. And these were all produced during the Golden Age. And these were all done by Superior. Now, what I was talking about before was a lot of the time they would produce Canadian variants of comics. So, for example, this is Crimes by Women, which is, I know it's not sci-fi, but it is a foreign edition. This is also produced by Superior. This was 1948. And at that time, there was a trade embargo between the US and Canada. But what they did was they would get distribution rights in Canada, and they would publish them in Canada. So what they would do is the stories would all be the same as the US variants, the versions. Sometimes the numbering was off, actually. So sometimes the cover does not correspond to what it would be in the US. So this is Crimes by Women #2. And but the ads are different. So these were different ads on the back. So you see fun balloons, which was not an American ad. You can only get that in Canada. So you can only have fun balloons in Canada. I don't know. So this is Crimes by Women. I have a bunch of Crimes by Women, so I'll show you just a bunch. These are all the Canadian versions. Actually, I realized there's only one. I'm only missing one of the Crimes by Women Canadian editions, and then I would have the complete collection. And you can even see this one has like the little Superior label, the Canadian, again, that maple leaf. This is Crimes by Women. #3. This is my favorite of the Crimes by Women covers. It's I always love this cover. Guy standing in behind and the two women going at it, ripping each other's clothes. It's just such a great cover. It looks like she's gonna whack her. What is that? Is that a telephone or what is? Or her shoe? Her shoe. Looks like she's gonna use her shoe to whack the other girl. And the other girl's got her hair being pulled. It's just a great cat fight cover. So yeah, and that's another Superior. These are all Superiors. And just one more. This is Crimes by Women #5. It's a nice femme fatale cover. And then I'll show you some of the interesting ones. So this is Tomorrow. Now this is the American edition. But what happened was they actually produced a Canadian edition, but in French. This was produced in Quebec. And so you see it's an anti-communism magazine, comic, I should say. So this is the Canadian version. It's very rare. There's only like 3 or 4, like I think 4 or 5 known copies to exist of this book. Just a really cool one. And then you have things like these are Canadian whites. These are Anglo-American comics. This is 3 Aces. And then we have what people more often call this kind of style a Canadian white, where it's like just purely black and white. But the other one is considered a Canadian white as well. So this one is Anglo-American Publications. Yeah, so just another Canadian white. And I have one last one to show. Another title from Anglo-American, which is Grand Slam. And so these were all produced in Canada. I actually have some Allen Class books in terms of British publications of comics, and some of them are actually sci-fi as well. I'd have to find them, but they were basically reproductions of the American books. Actually, if I have them handy, let me see. I have it handy. Do I have it handy? I have no idea which box it is. I was going to grab it. I was like, I might have it handy, but I don't think so. It's not that handy. So yeah, I do have others, but for the most part, they are reproductions of the US versions. The Allen class ones are kind of interesting because the way that they're a different size than the American versions. They're not like the comic book size. They're like more squarish. They're still rectangle, but squarish. So they're like a bit wider. And as a result, they actually show more art than the original comics did. Because sometimes when they do the comic book covers, they would actually crop the art to fit the comic book cover. So I have an example of that, which would be Creepy Worlds #1. Which is actually the cover for Fantastic Four #1, and it's a cropped version of Fantastic Four, but it's not a crop, like it shows a little bit more art than Fantastic Four #1 does. It's kind of interesting. I should have brought it, but I didn't. Sorry. But yeah, so those are the questions for this week. It's a very short video today. If you guys have questions, feel free to ask anything. I'll pull out some books to show you whatever it is that needs to be shown to answer your questions. So again, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry for the shortness of it. And thanks again.